What if your dog has been waiting their entire life for you to do one simple thing? And without even realizing it, you've been doing the exact opposite every single day. That sounds uncomfortable, maybe even a little hard to accept. But stay with me for a moment. Because most dog owners genuinely believe they're doing everything right. You feed them, walk them, play with them, give them affection whenever you can. From your perspective, that's love. But what if, from your dog's perspective, some of those same actions are slowly weakening the very bond you think you're building? Here's the truth most people never hear. Love, when expressed the wrong way, can quietly create distance instead of connection. And dogs don't protest the way humans do. They don't argue or complain. Instead, they adapt. They become quieter, more distant, and less expressive. And by the time you notice, that invisible gap between you has already grown. I've come to believe something that might change the way you see your relationship with your dog forever. Love done the wrong way can be more damaging than no love at all. Not because you don't care, but because you're speaking a language your dog doesn't fully understand. So instead of trying to love your dog more, what if the real shift is this? Learning how to love them in a way they can actually feel. Because the connection you're hoping for isn't built on how much you give, it's built on how well you understand. Here's the part most owners never realize, and it's what makes this so important. When a dog begins to lose trust in you, they don't fight back. They don't become dramatic or confrontational. Instead, they do something much quieter and far more concerning. They start to withdraw. Slowly, almost invisibly, they begin to pull away from the connection they once tried so hard to build. You might notice small changes at first. The tail that used to wag a little more now moves less often. The eyes that once searched for yours now glance away. The dog who used to come to you without hesitation now stays where they are, choosing distance over interaction. None of these signs feel urgent on their own, which is why they're so easy to ignore. But together, they tell a deeper story. In my view, a dog's silence is often misunderstood. It's easy to mistake it for calmness, for obedience, for a well-behaved pet. But silence is not always peace. Sometimes it's surrender. Sometimes it's a dog quietly giving up on being understood. So if your dog seems unusually easy, unusually low maintenance, take a moment to look closer. Ask yourself an uncomfortable but necessary question. Is your dog truly content, or have they simply stopped expecting anything more from you? Because the difference between those two states is where connection either lives or slowly fades away. The first thing your dog has been quietly waiting for is something incredibly simple, yet deeply rooted in who they are. A space that truly belongs to them. Long before dogs lived in our homes, their ancestors relied on dens for survival. A den wasn't just a place to rest. It was safety, protection, and emotional stability. And even though your dog now sleeps on your floor or couch, that instinct hasn't disappeared. It's still there, running quietly beneath the surface of their behavior. Now, here's the part most owners miss. Your home doesn't automatically feel safe to your dog just because it feels safe to you. Noise, movement, unpredictability, what seems normal in a human environment can feel overwhelming to them. And without a dedicated space to retreat to, your dog has no way to fully reset. In my view, a home without a safe corner for your dog is like asking someone to relax in a place where they can never truly let their guard down. That's why a personal space matters so much. Not as a luxury, but as an emotional necessity. A quiet corner, a consistent bed, or even a crate with the door left open. These aren't confinement tools, they're anchors. They give your dog a place where nothing is expected of them, where no one reaches in, calls them out, or disrupts their stillness. And that consistency creates something powerful, a sense of control in a world they don't control. So here's a simple shift you can make. Create a space that is always theirs. Keep it quiet, keep it predictable, and most importantly, respect it. Don't follow them in. Don't pull them out when they retreat. Because when your dog chooses to step away, they're not rejecting you. They're regulating themselves. Think about it this way. Could you truly rest if you had to sleep in the middle of a noisy living room every day, with people constantly walking past, talking, and interrupting you? Probably not. And neither can your dog. But when they finally have a space that feels like their own, something changes. They don't withdraw as much. They don't hide as often. Instead, they begin to return. Not because they have to, but because they finally feel safe enough to. The second thing your dog has been waiting for is something most owners unintentionally take away every single day: the right to choose when they are touched. It sounds small, almost insignificant, but it changes everything. Because when you reach down to pet your dog without them asking, when you interrupt their rest, hug them unexpectedly, or automatically place your hands on them as you pass by, you're making a decision about their body on their behalf. And over time, that pattern quietly removes their sense of control. Here's how I see it. Love is not about constant contact. It's about knowing when to hold back. Because real connection isn't built through how often you touch your dog. It's built through whether they feel safe enough to choose that contact themselves. Dogs, just like humans, they need autonomy. They need the ability to say yes, and just as importantly, the ability to say, not right now. When that choice is respected, something powerful happens. Your dog doesn't just tolerate you, they begin to trust you. But when that choice is ignored repeatedly, even in gentle, well-meaning ways, your dog starts to learn that their signals don't matter, and that's where emotional distance begins. So what should you look for instead? The signs are actually very clear. A dog who wants connection will come to you. They'll rest their chin on your leg, nudge your hand, lean their body against you, or slowly move closer until contact happens naturally. Those are invitations. Those are moments where your dog is choosing you. And here's the shift that makes all the difference. Wait for those moments. Let your hands stay still when your dog walks by. Let them rest without interruption. Avoid sudden hugs or reaching in when they haven't asked for it. It may feel like you're giving less love, but in reality, you're giving a deeper kind of love, one built on respect. Think about it this way. Would you feel comfortable if someone touched you constantly without asking, no matter how gentle their intention was? Probably not. And your dog feels the same. The moment you stop taking that choice away, you'll notice something change. Your dog will start coming to you more often, not because they have to, but because they finally feel like they can. The third thing your dog has been waiting for is something so simple that most people overlook it entirely: meeting them at their level. Not emotionally, but physically. Because in your dog's world, height is not neutral. It carries meaning. When you stand over them, even with gentle intentions, your size, your posture, your movement all signal power. To you, it's just standing. To your dog, it can feel like pressure. And here's the shift that changes everything. Sometimes, to be loved more, you have to become smaller. When you lower yourself, when you sit on the floor, soften your posture, and remove that physical dominance, you send a completely different message. You're no longer a towering presence controlling the environment. You become approachable, predictable, safe. The tension your dog didn't even realize they were holding begins to fade because the need to constantly monitor you disappears. In my experience, this is one of the fastest ways to build trust, especially with dogs who are shy, sensitive, or easily overwhelmed. You don't need commands. You don't need treats. You don't even need to call them. Just your presence at their level is enough. So here's something you can try starting today. Go into the room where your dog is resting. Sit down on the floor a few feet away. Don't reach out. Don't make sounds. Don't try to get their attention. Just exist there, quietly, for 5 to 10 minutes. At first, it might feel like nothing is happening, but watch closely. You'll start to notice subtle changes, the way your dog relaxes, the way their body softens, or maybe even the moment they slowly get up and come closer on their own. That's the moment you're looking for. Not compliance, but choice. Not training, but trust. Because the goal is not to pull your dog into your world, where everything moves fast and happens on your terms. And the real connection begins when you step into theirs, slower, quieter, and far more honest. The fourth thing your dog has been waiting for is something most walks quietly take away from them: the chance to fully sniff. To you, a walk might be about movement, getting from point A to point B, burning energy, sticking to a schedule. But to your dog, a walk is something entirely different. It's how they read the world. A dog's nose is their primary way of understanding everything around them. Every scent on the ground carries layers of information: who passed by, when they were there, what they felt, what they ate, whether they were calm or stressed. When your dog lowers their head and begins to sniff, they're not wasting time. They're processing reality in the most natural way they know. And that's why I see walks differently. You're not walking your dog so they can move. You're walking them so they can make sense of the world. And here's where most owners get it wrong. The constant pulling, the "come on, let's go," the shortening of the leash every time your dog pauses. Those small interruptions add up. Each time you stop them mid-sniff, it's like closing a book before they've reached the end. Imagine trying to read something important, only for someone to shut it every 10 seconds. You'd feel frustrated, incomplete, maybe even a little stressed. That's exactly what your dog experiences. Sniffing isn't just curiosity, it's regulation. It's one of the most effective natural ways dogs reduce stress and settle their nervous system. When you rush through a walk, you're not just limiting exploration, you're removing one of their main tools for emotional balance. So here's a simple but powerful shift. Let most of your walk belong to your dog. Aim for at least 70% of that time to be slow, unhurried, and led by their nose. Give them a cue like, "go sniff," and then genuinely allow it. Let them stay at a single spot longer than feels necessary. Trust that something meaningful is happening, even if you don't fully understand it. Because when your dog is finally allowed to finish what they started, to fully read their environment, you'll notice a difference. They return from walks calmer, more settled, and more connected. Not because they moved more, but because they were finally allowed to experience the world the way they were designed to. The fifth thing your dog has been waiting for is something that often gets overlooked because it feels too simple to matter: consistency. Not perfection, not rigid control, but a rhythm they can rely on. Because unlike humans, dogs don't experience time through clocks or calendars. They experience it through patterns. What happens next, what usually comes after, what they can expect from the world around them, that's how they make sense of their lives. And here's the part that changes everything. What feels boring or repetitive to you is actually what creates safety for your dog. In my view, stability is not a limitation for dogs, it's a foundation. When feeding times shift unpredictably, when walks happen at random hours, when your schedule constantly changes without any clear pattern, your dog doesn't just adjust. Their nervous system stays slightly activated, always waiting, always uncertain. Over time, that low-level uncertainty builds into something deeper: chronic anxiety that many owners never connect back to daily routine. Because from your dog's perspective, routine isn't just about structure. It's about trust. It's about knowing that the world makes sense, that certain needs will be met, and that life has a rhythm they can settle into. So what can you do? Start with the moments that matter most. Feed your dog around the same time each day. Keep walks within a predictable window. Create small daily rituals, maybe a quiet moment together in the evening, or a consistent way you greet them when you come home. These don't have to be perfect. Life will always have variations. What matters is the overall pattern, the sense that things are generally stable and reliable. Because here's the truth most people miss: a dog who knows what's coming next is a dog who can finally relax. And a relaxed dog is a dog who can connect, who can be present, who can give and receive affection without that constant undercurrent of uncertainty. A dog who understands their world is a dog who feels safe within it. And safety is where every real bond begins. The sixth thing your dog has been waiting for is something you may already do without realizing how powerful it is. Talking to them, out loud, naturally, and often. Not just giving commands, not just calling their name, but actually including them in your voice, your tone, your everyday life. Because dogs don't just hear sounds, they read them, and they pick up on your emotions, your rhythm, your intention. Long before they understand words, they understand how those words feel. And here's how I see it. You don't talk to your dog because they fully understand every word. You talk to them because they are always listening. Your voice is one of the strongest tools of connection you have, and it costs you nothing. The way you greet them in the morning, the tone you use when you walk through the door, the calm or tension in your voice after a long day, your dog absorbs all of it. It becomes part of how they interpret the world, and more importantly, how they interpret you. What many owners miss is that silence creates distance. When you go through your day without speaking to your dog, just feeding, walking, managing, you're meeting their physical needs, but leaving an emotional gap. Because connection isn't just built through actions, it's built through presence, and your voice carries that presence in a way nothing else can. So start small. Say good morning when you wake up. Talk to them while you're making coffee or cooking dinner. Speak to them on your walks, even if it feels unnecessary. Tell them about your day. It might feel strange at first, but over time it becomes natural, and your dog will respond in ways you can feel, even if you can't fully explain. Because here's a simple truth. You wouldn't stay silent around someone you love. And your dog, in many ways, lives their entire life tuned into you. When you speak, you're not just making noise, you're reminding them that they are included, that they matter, and that they are not alone in your world. At the end of all this, one truth becomes clear. Every behavior your dog shows is a message. Nothing is random. The way they look at you, the way they move toward you, or away from you, every small action is their way of communicating how they feel in the world you share. And once you begin to see that, everything changes. You stop reacting on autopilot, and you start paying attention with intention. Because the goal was never perfection. Your dog doesn't need you to get everything right. They don't expect flawless timing, perfect routines, or constant awareness. What they need is something much simpler and much more powerful. They need you to be present in the right way, to notice, to listen, to adjust. In my view, that's what real love looks like to a dog. Connection isn't built in big, dramatic moments. It's built quietly. And in the small choices you make every day, the moment you choose to wait instead of reaching, the moment you slow down instead of rushing, the moment you sit beside them instead of standing over them. These are the moments your dog feels. These are the moments that stay. So now the question isn't whether you love your dog, you already do. The question is, what will you change, starting today, so they can truly feel it? Take a second and think about that. What is one small shift you can make right now that your dog has been waiting for their entire life? And if this changed the way you see your dog, even just a little, share it with someone who loves their dog but hasn't heard this yet. And subscribe, because every week we go deeper into the world your dog lives in, so you can finally meet them there.